We bring you breaking news out of Pawtucket at this hour, where we've confirmed a shooting took place at the Lynch Arena in Pawtucket. I'm Shannon Heggie, joined by Tim White. We know this happened less than an hour ago, Tim. A confirmed shooting, multiple victims. Yeah, multiple people are shot, and we can also report, Shannon, that the suspected shooter is dead. We do not know if that was a self-inflicted gunshot wound or at the hands of police. We're still trying to get that information right now. We also know scheduled at the arena at that time was a hockey game between two high schools, and we're still working on the nature of injuries of the multiple people that have been shot. This is obviously a very fluid situation. Shannon and I did talk to an employee at a local pharmacy right next to the arena at the time of the shooting, and she told me something rather chilling, that two kids, as she said, ran into the pharmacy and said there was a shooting at the arena to call 911. They were panicking. They hid inside the pharmacy. Then police arrived and told the pharmacy to shut down and evacuate. And as we know, we are in the midst of a holiday weekend, and this week is break for a lot of schools. So you talk about a possible game taking place there, not to mention siblings, parents, and everyone else who would have been in this ice arena at the time of this shooting. Again, we're still learning a lot. This happened less than an hour ago at the Lynch Arena, and that's where our reporter Sheena Losciuto is at this hour. Sheena, what can you tell us from what you're seeing?
Well, really, about 30 seconds ago, police pushed us back, really speaking to how big this scene is. They're expanding the scene as we speak here, putting up this yellow tape. The ice arena is right there behind me. You can see several police officers surrounding the area right now, many of them armed. And again, what we're seeing is different families carrying out what appears to be hockey equipment, skates and sticks, transporting it places. I don't know where exactly they're going to and from at this point right now, but a lot of families remain here in the parking lot, I should say, of this ice arena, really waiting for instructions on what to do next. Police continue just coming in forces here to this area as they piece together what exactly took place. Again, right here, yellow tape just went up, speaking to how big this scene is getting. We can see that Walgreens that you guys were talking about. It's just over there, a block away from here. That's where families are being reunited as police try to make sense of what exactly took place here. We'll send it back to you guys until we learn more information from out here.
Thank you. Obviously, a large scene there. We see the police tape up. Tim, you made a good point, because unfortunately we were on this desk reporting of a shooting just ahead of Christmas when we did the Brown University shooting. The difference here is that we have confirmed that this shooter is dead. Yeah, this is unfolding in a very different manner than the December 13th shooting at Brown University. Police, we know initially there was a very large law enforcement agency response to the Woodlawn section of Pawtucket when this call came in, and that because police didn't know where the shooter was at that time, very similar to Brown University. Then Pawtucket police started to tell the mutual aid that was coming in to slow it down, pull it back. We don't need the SWAT teams. We don't need the special response units coming into the scene right now, which told us that the shooter likely was either in custody, but now we know the shooter, according to authorities there, is dead. And a lot of people know the Dennis M. Lynch Arena. It's sort of a landmark in Pawtucket, but for those who don't, again, it's in the Woodlawn section of the city. It's on Andrew Furlan Way, and that is off of Broad Street. Shannon, you know Broad Street, very busy area that cuts through portions of Pawtucket. This is just west of Route 95. Again, multiple people shot at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena in Pawtucket. We don't know the nature of the injuries there. We do know that at that time, when the call came in, sometime around 2:30, Shannon, that there was a boys' high school hockey team, game supposed to be taking place at that time. The last thing you expect to be thinking or seeing when your kids are off for the week, you're going to a hockey game at a local ice skating rink, and I have to imagine it was even more attended, as we were saying earlier, than normal, because kids are off this week. Yes. So siblings, parents probably took the day off. And again, we don't have confirmation as to how many people were shot. We just know multiple victims. Again, as Tim mentioned, the shooter is dead. Sheena Losciuto's at the scene down there. It is a huge police presence, as you can imagine. Our Kim Kalunian is working to get more information at the scene as we speak, but this is all very much developing. As Tim mentioned, this happened less than an hour ago, and as we saw with the Brown University shooting, that information started coming in quickly.
Some new information coming in right now. First of all, we heard Sheena say that there's a reunification center at the Walgreens. That's the pharmacy that I called and talked to the employee that was there. We know at least 2 kids were in there. So police are directing parents. Again, they have a crime scene at the arena. They have to move reunification away from the crime scene, much like we saw at the Barris and Holly lab at Brown University. They have to have a different area for reunification. We do know multiple people have been transported to the hospital. This is just in. I don't know what hospital, but we know very well that the level 1 trauma center in this region is Rhode Island Hospital. So it is safe to say that victims being transported from the Dennis M. Lynch Arena are being transported to Rhode Island Hospital at this time. We are still working on if there are any fatalities besides the shooter that we know is dead.
And of course, we have Hasbro Children's Hospital right next door there.
That's true,
so
too.
We're talking possibly about young victims in this case. If we're high school hockey games, kids all inside the rink, kids off from school right now. Again, we are getting information in about multiple victims shot at a shooting at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena ice rink in Pawtucket less than an hour ago. I know when we covered the Brown University shooting, Tim, we talked about having to set up an entire investigation, and Sheena had mentioned how they're pushing our crew back, and we do have another crew at the scene. Kim Kalunian joins us, and Kim, what are you learning at this hour?
Yeah, Shannon, we just got here a short time ago. We're at the intersection of Broad Street and Andrew Furland, and we're on the backside of the ice skating rink here, and this is, just an incredibly sprawling scene. Many officers here, and lots of people who were seemingly evacuated or self-evacuated from the building, standing at the rear entrance here. Just a short time ago, I spoke with a young man who had been playing in that hockey game that was underway when the shots rang out, and he described to me what it was like in there. He said he heard several loud bangs. He said he couldn't be sure exactly how many he heard, but it sounded like 7. And then people just started to scatter. The teams got off the ice. People were running for the exits. It was a little chaotic. He doesn't know much else besides that, and was a little bit hesitant even to talk to me because he said he doesn't have any official information. And I said, just tell me what you saw, what you heard. He also told me this was their senior night. This was supposed to be a day of celebration. Obviously, as you have mentioned, this is the start of school vacation for many kids, a holiday for folks, and this was going to be a very fun afternoon for them. He said that the arena was packed with people and families looking to enjoy this hockey game. We are still waiting for official word here on scene from anyone, but again, that young man that I talked to just a short time ago described hearing several loud bangs inside that arena before people fled for the exits. Spoke with the mayor a short time ago as well over the phone, and he said he too was sort of awaiting more information. So again, this is just all unfolding within the last hour to 90 minutes, so we're waiting to learn more.
All right, Kim, thank you. Tim, you're still getting more information in at this hour.
Yeah, we have some important information coming in. We can confirm that one victim along with the shooter is dead. So you have the shooter that is dead, an additional victim. 4 people have been injured in the shooting and transported. Again, we know that there was a high school hockey game going on at the time, and we've just learned, Shannon, that they were live streaming this hockey game over either the league or the arena's provider when the shooting happened. So there were other people likely watching that live stream when the shooting happened. But again, we can confirm 2 people are dead, including the shooter. 4 people have been transported to Rhode Island Hospital. We have a crew at Rhode Island Hospital that says they see Pawtucket rescues there.
That's right. And as you just heard from Kim Kalunian, she spoke to one of the players that was in this game, a high school hockey game that was supposed to be their senior night. And instead, gunshots rang out in the middle of it at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena in Pawtucket less than an hour ago. One person dead, Tim, you said, and 4 injured, as well as the shooter dead at this hour.
That's right.
More information continues to come in. Our crew we have 2 crews live at this scene. Sheena Losciuto is outside of that arena. Sheena, what are you seeing?
Well, actually, we just went around the corner here to give you a look at the Walgreens that's kind of being used as police officials right now as that reunification center where if families have any questions, they can come here and speak to officers. Actually, you can see here, let's give you a live look. It looks like a group is being escorted out from the ice arena here right now, surrounded by police. That police officer there, at least armed right now, as they now wait for the next instructions on what to do. But I want to paint a picture of just how urgent everything was. When we were driving here, we were in Providence. We got on the highway. Behind us came police crews from all over. We saw police cruisers from Cranston, for example, Johnston, and several from police. And we see that from Providence Police. And we see the police officers from Providence here right now here as well. Obviously, a major police presence from several different agencies all across the state. You can see kind of the chaos and how it's all active right now. But again, from what we are told, the Walgreens here is kind of where people can go if they're missing someone or are looking for more information. Police officers talking to families here, hoping to get them the answers they are looking for. We'll try to talk to more people as they come out, and we'll let you guys know if we hear anything else.
Sheena, thank you. Joining us live outside Dennis and Lynch Arena and the Walgreens, which is next door, Tim, which is being used as a reunification area, as Sheena just described. We know 1 person is dead, the shooter also dead, and 4 others injured. This all happened during a high school hockey game at Lynch Arena. And
as I said before, that this hockey game was being streamed on a service, and someone had sent me the video to watch what happened, and you could hear multiple cracks, gunfire go off, and then everybody, as you can imagine, just starts to scramble. There's initially this moment where people are confused about what's going on, and then when they realize that this is a shooting, people started to scramble. Very different from Brown University because the suspected shooter is, as you said, Shannon, is dead, but obviously should stress to people at home right now to avoid the Woodlawn area of Pawtucket. If you have no reason to go there, Broad Street, obviously that whole area is going to be really locked down with a heavy law enforcement presence, and you want for families to be able to be reunited with their loved ones, which apparently is happening at the Walgreens that was behind Sheena Losciuto's live shot there.
That's right. Of course, children are off this week in most of Rhode Island, towns in Massachusetts as well. This is vacation week. I'm told President's Day weekend is big for hockey tournaments and hockey games all across the state. This, as we've learned from players who were in this game when this shooting happened, was a high school hockey game, and it was their senior night. And instead, I think the player that Kim talked to described him, and I know you kind of mentioned it as people were kind of confused as to what they were hearing at first, described loud pops, and he thought he heard 7 of them, and then realized what was going on and ran out of the arena. There is obviously a massive police presence here. This arena is now a crime scene, so the investigation is underway there. As you mentioned, Tim, we have crews over at the hospital where ambulances are arriving. We have a crew outside the Walgreens, which is being used as a reunification center, and then crews outside the ice rink as well. And all of this information continues to come in because this is all very fluid, and we're still hearing from people who were there, people within the hockey community that are getting notification. It's a tight-knit group.
Absolutely, and you could see in the aerials that we just had there before we lost it, there was a high school, I shouldn't say high school, there was a school bus outside of the arena with a large number of people that were gathered there. You have to imagine that it was very busy inside the arena at the time of the shooting. Let's talk about what happens moving forward. This is the lead law enforcement agency in this case is the Pawtucket Police Department moving forward. The Attorney General's office is, I'm sure they are already on scene to preserve the crime scene that is inside that arena right now. And it is going to be a very large crime scene. We know 2 people are dead, including the shooter, at least 4 people injured. And we say injured because we're not sure the nature of their injuries. They have been transported to the hospital. At some point in time, they will be key witnesses and key interviews for detectives to have to sit down and talk to try and unravel what happened. But also, like the Brown University shooting on that Thursday, when we were watching all of that unfold up in New Hampshire, I talked about how a lot of people will be, you can't interview a dead person, and there'll be a lot of questions about the why. Why did they do it? On the flip side, there is an opportunity here, and we saw this with Brown University, where police narratives, documents, affidavits, things that would normally be under seal as a criminal trial is approaching because you have a defendant that is going to stand trial, will likely be able to be unsealed. We'll see the light of day, and we'll get more information earlier than we probably normally would in a crime scene this large.
And unlike Brown, where we finally did see video emerge afterwards, we've confirmed that there is video of this moment, of this shooting. There's a live streaming service of these games. I had the name of it somewhere here, and that was locked down right after the shooting happened. Live Barn, I believe it's called. And we're hearing that they are putting people at that Walgreens reunification center onto buses.
This makes sense.
To move them away from the crime scene.
Get them out of there. It is a very, that's a tough spot on a good day. Broad Street, Andrew Furlan Way, that whole area in Woodlawn is very congested. Now you have this massive incident that happened at the arena. They want to get people out of there, and that makes perfect sense to me that our colleague Sheena Lasciuto reporting from the scene that they're putting people on those school buses that we saw in the helicopter footage there to get them out.
That's right. And, you know, this is tough, Tim. If we look at this from a broader view, we have barely had a chance to take a breath since the other mass shooting, and Rhode Island has never seen something like that, thankfully, until this past December. So for this to happen again, it, for at least me, feels just...
It's shocking.
Yeah.
There's no other word for it other than shocking. Unfortunately, law enforcement in this area is now becoming an area in which they have a high level of expertise.
They know what to do.
They know what to do. In these mass casualty incidents, this mass shooting that has happened, multiple people injured, 2 shot here, 2 dead, I should say, 1 victim shot and killed. And you have Pawtucket, such close proximity to Providence. You heard Sheena say in her live shot that she could see Providence PD. They were probably there within minutes, helping to respond to an incident to a fellow agency just like Pawtucket had responded to the east side of Providence when that shooting had happened at Brown University. So unfortunately, we have law enforcement agencies in our area that are well trained now. And
not to mention everybody that was in this arena. Again, we don't know how well attended this game was, but you have to imagine it was more well attended than normal on a President's Day weekend with kids out of school. We saw with the Brown University case, for people that weren't in that room, but maybe were in the area that had to run all of the mental health services that came out afterwards. And all of the people that were in this arena for this shooting, having witnessed that, are now seeing something that you don't expect to have to see.
And I'm thinking about the Brown University community right now, hearing about the shooting that's happening in Pawtucket right now, and how that is just
the feelings
just reemerging as students just came back to school over at Brown University, and they're going to a very different school than they went in the fall. Security is extra tight. It's visible everywhere. That is on purpose. The leadership at the university wants to make sure that students see a lot of security around there. It's getting harder to get into buildings. That was a big issue during a lot of questions about that at Brown University. And now they're hearing about this shooting happening just a couple of miles away.
How is this going to change ice rinks? You know, so we mentioned we have 4 injured, the shooter dead, and sadly another person dead as well. We have a crew live outside Rhode Island Hospital where these ambulances are pulling up. Lauren Brill joins us. Lauren, what are you seeing from there?
Yeah, guys, well, as you said, we're right outside the emergency room here at Rhode Island Hospital. Take a look at my shoulder right over here. We see one Pawtucket rescue that has been here over the last 20 minutes with their lights on. We've also seen Pawtucket police rushing here with their lights and sirens on as well. Now, as you said, we know that 4 people have been transported to the hospital, but we don't know if all of the victims have been transported here to the emergency room or other nearby hospitals. Again, we're working to learn more information right now and monitoring this scene. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Again, you're looking at aerials from the Dennis M. Lynch Arena, where police are swarming the area after a shooting that happened less than an hour ago, or I guess an hour ago at this point, Tim.
Yes.
During a high school hockey game. 4 people injured, the shooter dead, and sadly another victim dead as well.
And I'm prepared to report this, again, unlike Brown University, where the shooting at Barris and Holly was very random. I'm comfortable reporting that this law enforcement sources are telling me and my colleagues in the 12 newsroom that this was a targeted shooting that happened at the arena. We don't know who and we don't know why at this point just yet, but we do know this was not, according to law enforcement sources, random.
And again, you mentioned as this all moves forward, all of those details will come out as well, because these records will be out because it's an active investigation.
That's correct.
We want to go now to reporter Kim Kalunian, who's been speaking with some of the people who were in the arena when the shooting happened. Kim?
Yeah, when we got here, Shannon and Tim, there was a large crowd of people here outside of the back of the arena who had evacuated from that building. That crowd is now dispersing. As Sheena mentioned, it seems as though police are now putting them onto buses to get them away from this area and to someplace else. So that crowd is now dwindling down. But before they were clearing the area, I was able to speak with one of the young men who was on the ice during the game, and he described what he heard. He said he heard several loud bangs, potentially 7 of them. And as people registered what was happening, they cleared the ice, they started to clear the stands, and ran out of that building. As you've been reporting, we know that 4 people are hurt. 1 person is dead. The shooter is also dead. And we're waiting for any sort of official word from folks here on the scene. I had spoken quickly with the mayor over the phone. He was waiting to give out more information as well, as he is here on the scene. And many somber faces. This was supposed to be a happy and joyful day, senior night for these hockey teams who were playing here this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Things took a very different turn when those shots rang out inside of this hockey rink on what was supposed to be a joyful, celebratory afternoon. As you've been talking about, it's school vacation. It's a holiday today. Lots of families were inside getting ready to watch this hockey game and instead found themselves, as you mentioned, Shannon, at a crime scene instead. So we are waiting any sort of official briefing that might happen here on scene from police or from the mayor's office. As we've mentioned over and over, there is a massive police presence here right now. So once they have this scene under control, I have no doubt that we will be getting more details from police and from investigators about what exactly unfolded. But Tim, you just mentioned a short time ago that you're hearing from sources that this was a targeted shooting. And when I did ask that hockey player if the person who had the gun was firing towards the ice, it seemed like that gunfire was contained to one area of the stands. Again, that was from his perspective, so we're waiting to get some more information on exactly what unfolded here, as these families and others who are inside this building are now being taken elsewhere away from this arena. Tim and Shannon?
Kim, thank you. And Tim, you continue to get new information as all of this develops.
Yeah, we have been talking about this being a high school hockey game at the time. We haven't reported which high schools, but we can tell you that the superintendent in Coventry sent out a notice to families. I'm just going to read it live on the air, Shannon. I haven't read it fully yet. It says, "Dear families, we are aware of a serious reported incident at Lynch Arena, Pawtucket, where our boys' hockey team was playing. Information is still developing, and we are actively working with the event staff and local authorities to understand the situation." The superintendent goes on to write, "We have been informed that students are secured in multiple locations. At this time, we are still working to confirm the status and location of all individuals." When you look at the schedule, Shannon, of who Coventry was scheduled to play at that time, around 2:30 when the shooting broke out, it was Blackstone Valley was the other team that they were going to be competing with, as you said, and we've discussed. There was streaming to anybody who wanted to watch it, this tournament that was happening at the arena, and it was live streaming when the shooting took place. And I've watched the video. You could hear multiple pops, and just as Kim said, the witness that she talked to said it was in one isolated area of the arena. You could see that from that live stream video. And again, we are reporting that law enforcement sources tell 12 News that this shooting was targeted.
And it's tough because the hockey community in Rhode Island and Massachusetts is a very tight-knit community. There's only so many rinks, so you end up seeing a lot of people playing against a lot of teams. There's a lot of information flying around right now, and we have to do our due diligence to confirm all of that before reporting it to you. But as we've mentioned, we at least have confirmed that this was a targeted shooting, and the gentleman Kim spoke to confirmed that as well from his point on the ice, that it seemed as though this was targeted in one section of the stands. Nonetheless, 4 people injured, 1 person dead, and the shooter dead as well. And all of this information continues to pour in right now. And
I'm glad you said that, by the way, not to interrupt you, Shannon, but I don't think we pointed that out, that based on the video that we've seen and from the reporting, the shooting was in the stands.
That's right, not on the ice.
Not on the ice proper itself. And again, as we said multiple times, our understanding is the shooting was targeted. So we're starting to piece together the details from the evidence that we can glean just over an hour since the shooting had happened.
But unlike, and I know if you're in the hockey world, a lot of these practices and even sometimes games are at 7 in the morning, This was a 2 p.m. game at this rink during school vacation. So we can imagine, I think we can see from the video too, that this was well attended. So even when you say it was pointed at, targeted in one section of the stands, how many people were in the stands at that moment? And, obviously we have multiple people injured and multiple people who were witness to this. Have to imagine kids, siblings in the audience. As Kim mentioned, this was senior night. So that's something that families show up for. And it's really just a tragedy. And again, we are trying to give you all the information as it's coming in, and we're going to keep doing that for you. Right now, we want to go to Sheena Losciuto, who's been live at the scene for us, detailing what's happening. I know the last time we talked to you, Sheena, you were seeing these buses picking up people and trying to get them out of this area. As Tim mentioned, it's a tough area to be in. It's very heavily settled and traveled. What are you seeing right now?
Well, we move back over to the other side. So this is technically what I would call the front of the ice arena here, Dexter Street and Andrew D. Furland Way. We're seeing a lot of those families, again, leaving this area. At different times, they're going different directions. We just saw what looked like a parent come out with 2 school-aged children. They were not interested in speaking to us right now. We're not really finding too many people eager to share exactly what they witnessed at this point, understandably. I want to show you what the scene is looking like. At this point, officers still surrounding the area. No one can get any closer to the ice arena unless you are a law enforcement officer or part of this investigation. And again, that investigation includes several different agencies. Pawtucket, though, the main cruiser is parked here by the ice arena here at this hour. One of my coworkers here, colleagues on scene, did tell me that they saw Pawtucket's police chief here. So as Kim was mentioning, I'm sure we'll find out more information shortly. But in this immediate area right now, people are leaving the ice arena and getting dispersed elsewhere. Again, maybe onto buses, maybe they're going to wherever they park their cars. But this area is now focused, really just flooded with police officers and investigators as they piece together what exactly took place. We'll let you know if we see any other changes. But as of right now, that's really the main picture. Police officers escorting families to wherever they're going. No more police officers have really arrived compared to what I saw about half an hour ago or whenever we first checked in. But you can see police still just really focused on where they say this crime took place. We'll let you know if we see anything that changes. We're in touch, but for now, we'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Sheena, thank you. I know we talked about how heavily of an area this is. I guess the one good thing for police here is that because it's a hockey rink, they can get in there and really start detailing all the evidence, because this is a crime scene at this point, but there's nothing that would get in their way. They don't have to clear out, you know, a bigger area.
Yeah, and they can stage in the parking lot that is right in the front of the arena. You could see it in the background of Sheena's live shot there. So yeah, that's a good point. This is a large venue with good access. Now this venue is a crime scene, as you have pointed out. I do want to note, I think it's probably clear from our reporting, but based on the pronouns being used by law enforcement sources, the shooter we know is a male. That is also, he is also deceased at this point. We're still trying to learn more information about the victim in this case. We know one victim shot and killed. 4 people have been transported to the hospital with injuries. We suspect, well, we know because Lauren Brill is outside of Rhode Island Hospital, and that's where they're transporting many of the victims. And I understand Lauren is live right now. Lauren, what do you see?
Yeah, that's right. Well, within the last half hour, we saw a Pawtucket rescue pull up here. Like I said before, had their lights and sirens on. Now, that rescue has since left, but we're still looking to learn more information on where these victims were brought. Like you guys said, there's been 4 people injured, but we don't know if they were all brought here to Rhode Island Hospital or if they were brought to other hospitals in the area. We're still working to learn more information. I've reached out to the spokesperson for Rhode Island Hospital for any information that they can share with us at this time. Now, things have been quiet here since. We haven't seen any more rescues pull up, but we have seen Pawtucket police show up with their lights and sirens on as well within the last 15 minutes. Now, we also haven't really seen any family members showing up here, but again, we're still monitoring this situation and we'll bring you the live updates as we learn them. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Lauren. If you're just joining us, there has been a shooting at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena during a high school hockey game. Of course, it is President's Day weekend. It is the start of school vacation for many schools in our area. We believe that this hockey game was probably very well attended based on video that was live streaming when this shooting happened. We know this was a targeted shooting,
That's
Tim.
Right.
We have the shooter is dead, 1 other victim is dead, 4 others injured and taken to Rhode Island Hospital where Lauren Brill is. And just really difficult to be reporting this once again, just a few months after the Brown University shooting.
In breaking news situations like this, something that we do in the newsroom is we will call areas around an incident. And so I started doing that. Some of my colleagues started doing that right after the report of the shooting. We talked about this about an hour ago when we went on the air, but just in case people are tuning in now, I called over to the Walgreens, which is really behind or to the side of the arena there, and I got the pharmacist on the phone, and she told me that 2 kids, is her words, ran into the pharmacy. They were panicking, shaking, and said there was a shooting going on at the arena. They sheltered inside the pharmacy. The pharmacy immediately called, obviously, 911. Police responded and told the pharmacy to shut down. Since then, we've learned that the pharmacy is being used, or was being used anyway, as a staging area, so there could be some reunification among loved ones, so on and so forth. But a Walgreens is just not large enough for a reunification center. We now see from our colleagues who are on scene are reporting this. We can see it from the aerial shots there. School buses have been brought in, or maybe they were the school buses that were there, and they're transporting people out for reunification to happen at a different location at this point.
That's right. And Kim Kalunian, who's one of our reporters on the scene there, did speak to someone who said he was on the ice taking part in this game when the shooting happened. I believe we've confirmed this game was scheduled to start at 2, and the shooting happened shortly after that. So this game had only just begun when the shooting happened. But that boy told Kim that he heard 7 pops or 7 shots. I think at first a lot of people didn't know what they were hearing, and then very quickly realized someone is firing a gun, and the entire arena, just everybody started running. But again, he mentioned to her that this was senior night for these two high school teams that were playing at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena. Tim, you were able to confirm that it's the Coventry High School boys hockey team playing against Blackstone Valley.
That's right.
We got our hands on a copy of a letter that was sent out from the Coventry superintendent to parents, reiterating what they know so far, and that families were being brought to that Walgreens to be unified with their loved ones. But again, all of this information is just coming in. We know 4 people were injured in the shooting. The shooter is dead, as well as another victim.
And as you have pointed out multiple times since we've gone on the air, the hockey community is a very tight community. And in fact, the Providence Bruins, Shannon, just put out a statement. I'll read it here. It says, "Our thoughts are with all those affected by the tragic events at the high school hockey game at Dennis M. Lynch Arena in Pawtucket today. While we wait for more details, we share our support with the community and commend the first responders for all their efforts." Again, the hockey community, very tight community. This high school game going on, it was a senior game where a lot of families, grandparents often go to those senior night type games because it's their last game of the regular season going forward. So that suggests that the arena would be a little bit busier. We're just getting told that they are setting up for a news conference in Pawtucket. It sounds like it's happening near at an AutoZone. Is that okay? At an AutoZone, they just have to make use of any space that they can get. This is exactly what happened at Brown University. They used a shuttered and old firehouse in Providence, right on the east side. I think, if I remember, it was like 2 blocks away from the shooting where they set up the press conference, and that was the home for reporters and officials for about 48 hours until they moved it to the public safety complex. Very different then, though. There was a lot more, not that this isn't an urgent situation, but more urgency because...
Very different, because we had a shooter on the loose.
We had a shooter on the loose, and in fact, that shooting happened on a Saturday night. We now know 3 days later, or Monday night, the shooter in that case also killed an MIT professor in Brookline, Massachusetts. That's how active that entire situation was until they found his body up at a storage facility up in New Hampshire. This is very different, but clearly they have information that they can provide to the public. They're just trying to get all the media together to let them know this is the spot that you have to go. We will obviously take this news conference live whenever it happens here on 12 News.
And it's an interesting part of it, Tim, and you probably know more about this when it comes to how police stage everything, because they've got the crime scene that they have to start processing. They've got the Walgreens situation where they were trying to reunify families, get them on these buses. And in the midst of all of that, trying to set up a press conference so they can get relevant information out to the public. Because as you mentioned, this is a tight-knit group. You know, hockey in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, you hear about a game and a shooting at a game, and you might know someone who's on that boys hockey team. You might know someone who was in the stands at that game, and everybody wants information. Even though it's different from the last press conference where we were warning the public about a shooter being on the loose, it's still important for the police department to get this information out.
And this is where the political arm of government steps into action. In Providence, you saw Mayor Brett Smiley. He handled the press conferences. He, for lack of a better word, he emceed those press conferences, would bring up Colonel Oscar Perez. Initially, it was Commander Timothy O'Hara to do all of that. My guess is Mayor Don Grebian's City Hall is really organizing the efforts to have a press conference because, just as you point out, people are hungry for information, and there's a lot of people. This is Rhode Island. We are a small town, and there are people that know somebody that was at that rink, and they're seeking as much information as they possibly can. They're turning to news outlets to get that information. City Hall is aware of that.
And that's why I mentioned earlier, you know, there's a lot of information flying around even right now. There were a lot of people in the stands when this happened, and you have to imagine people are texting each other. There's information flying around on social media, but our job and the job of police is to make sure they're getting out the truth and what really happened and the correct information. So, you know, we are doing the same thing. We've got a whole team behind the scenes and crews at all of these different scenes, whether it's the presser or the Walgreens or outside of this arena, working to get information and confirm it before we put it out to the public.
And what's most likely going to happen before the end of this evening, we're going to learn a lot more about the shooter and a lot more about the victim. And that will likely come, as we have been reporting based on multiple law enforcement sources, that police are looking at this as a targeted shooting. So if that is the case, then people inside that arena, and not just law enforcement, will start putting the pieces together and telling people what had happened and who it was, because everybody knows everybody probably inside that arena. So that information is going to come out very, very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised at the press conference if we learn a lot more about the shooter whenever they have that. We have not heard a time. If the control room can confirm that, we have not heard a time yet of the press conference. But okay, all right, still TBD, but as soon as we have it, we're going to bring it to you live.
And you're looking at aerials right now of the Dennis M. Lynch Arena area. You can see multiple law enforcement on the scene there. The school bus that we had mentioned, school buses are taking families and people who were in the arena to another spot. Tim, the other big thing is we're talking about information getting out and the difference. Unfortunately, we keep comparing, because we just dealt with the Brown University shooting in December. In that situation, police had to be very careful about what kind of information they were putting out there. Whereas in this case, it's a much different scenario.
I'm glad you brought that up. There was also another big factor at play here. You had the FBI and multiple federal law enforcement agencies that were involved. I am sure the FBI is on scene here, as well as the ATF. I haven't seen those jackets yet, but that is standard in order to assist the other law enforcement agencies. But at Brown University, you had competing, I shouldn't say competing, you had different law enforcement agencies. It was a massive scene of federal, state, and local law enforcement. Here, Shannon, it seems to me this is going to be far more contained. You're going to have the lead agency in the Pawtucket Police Department, as well as the Rhode Island Attorney General's office, even though it does not look like they will have a defendant that they're going to have to deal with here, unless they can uncover any other information that someone knew ahead of time that the shooting was going to take place and failed to report it. We have no information that had happened, but these are the types of things that investigators are looking at. This is not a case closed situation. Just because the suspected shooter is dead here, they have to pull every possible thread to find out what kind of information they can to see if there is a criminal case.
All right, we want to go back out to Kim Kalunian, who's been live at the scene of the shooting, speaking with people who were inside when it happened. Kim, what are you learning at this hour?
Yeah, Shannon and Tim, just to recap everything we know right now, this shooting happened here inside of the Lynch Arena in Pawtucket. We're at the corner of Broad and Berland Street. We're at the backside of the arena, and we know that there was a high school boys hockey game happening inside that arena at the time these shots rang out. What we've been able to confirm is that the suspect is dead. One other person is dead. 4 other people were injured. We're waiting an official press briefing from investigators and city leadership, but we have been talking to people here on scene, including a young man who was on the ice playing in that game when those shots rang out. He said he heard multiple bangs. He clapped his hands as he described the sound that he heard. He believes he heard 7 of them. And then as people registered what those bangs were, they began to run towards the exits. What we've seen since we got here on the scene about maybe an hour ago, or less at this point, there was a large group of people, including those hockey players who were standing here outside of the arena, being reunited with their family. Many of those hockey players standing outside in their socks because they had to abandon their skates. We heard from people that they wanted to go back inside and get their bags. Obviously a mad dash to the doors and the exits as they heard that gunfire. I asked that young man if the shooter was shooting towards the ice, and he said it appeared from what he could tell that shooting was contained to somewhere in the stands. As we've been talking about, this is school vacation week. Today is a holiday. This was a senior night hockey game. It was a packed arena, lots of families, lots of young folks here hoping to cheer on these young men on the ice and have a great time. Instead, this afternoon turned into tragedy. There is a massive police presence here, not just Pawtucket, but many surrounding cities. As Sheena mentioned earlier, we saw the same thing as we were heading here on the highway. Ambulances with police escorts racing to the hospital to presumably get the wounded here some much needed medical attention. We're still working to learn more about what exactly unfolded, but Tim has mentioned that there was video of the game, being live streamed at the time that the shooting occurred. So in addition to the people who were inside the arena watching, likely many others at home watching the game as well. We mentioned that this crowd here behind the arena has dispersed now. Lots of those players and their families were put onto RIPTA buses, much like what we saw after the Brown University shooting, those city buses being taken out of service and being used as a special escort for the folks to get them away from this crime scene. So we've seen a couple of those RIPTA buses be filled up with folks and taken elsewhere. And they just put some more crime scene tape up as well. As you can see, these nearby businesses, Walgreens and Wendy's. There's some new crime scene tape up as police continue to investigate. And still a couple of dozen folks, several dozen folks here outside of the arena, potentially waiting to either be taken somewhere else or maybe to be picked up by family. Again, we are awaiting that press briefing that we're hearing might happen sometime soon with more official information on what exactly unfolded here inside of Lynch Arena here in Pawtucket. But that is the very latest here, live on the scene. So we'll send it back to you in studio.
Kim, thank you. That really points to just this entire situation, that there are hockey players standing at the Walgreens in their socks because they abandoned their skates in the middle of their senior game.
Afraid.
Because of a shooting at an ice rink in the middle of their senior night game. It just really, I think, puts it into perspective.